Welcome back, everybody. I'm Glenn McGowan. This is That Was Bowen. So if you're just tuning in and you saw my thumbnail and a couple of my other little reels that I kicked out earlier in the week, is what's next with the C4 and is it going away? Am I selling the car? No, and I am kind of getting rid of it in a way, but let me explain. So does anybody have any guesses? So what I'm doing is getting rid of the bagged part of my C4. So I don't really sell my cars, and over the last like 6 months or so, I've been really thinking about like just converting it back to coilovers. So since I bagged it, it's been about 3 years now. So time flies because it feels like I just did it. I have not been driving the car at all. So it's just one of those things, and I think for me, it's in the back of my head a lot with the air ride, and it's just kind of like a pain in the butt. Every time I go out to start the car, I gotta wait for the tanks to air up, and then when I'm driving, I'm constantly looking at the gauge and make sure, you know, there's no leaks and all that kind of stuff like that. And I ended up just finding myself not really enjoying the car anymore and not wanting to do anything else to it. So originally I had all these other plans, like I wanted to do some sort of like engine swap and, you know, just, you know, a bunch of other little things that I really wanted to do. And I was kind of like gung-ho at first, did a ton of stuff to it. Once I did the air ride, I was just happy at first. I love the way it looks, just aired out like that. And it kind of gave me the best of both worlds, which was great. But the problem was, and the reality of my life is that I just don't drive the car anymore, and I don't choose to drive it. I'd rather hop in any one of my other cars than hop in this and have to deal with that or worry about an airline popping or even just going fast and something, you know, a fitting going and then crashing and stuff like that. So to me, it was just one of those things subconsciously that I'm just like, you know what? I'm over it. And the straw that broke the camel's back was about a week ago. I was trying to get it out because I had to bring a car in to fix it or something like that, one of my other cars, and the battery was dead, and I tried to jump it, and I had the blue car up on those Jenga blocks, and I couldn't get anything next to it, so I had to, like, you know, kind of jerry-rig some batteries just to get the thing aired up, because if it's the battery's dead and the thing is freaking aired out, you can't get it up or move it or roll it out or anything like that. Finally got it up, got it jumped, and then the right rear fitting was leaking. And I was like, I am done. It's just one of those things where I really like the car. I always love C4s, and it's always been one of my favorite cars. And, you know, what's the point of having it? And I'm not really into selling my car, so I don't really want to get rid of it. So I figured if I could just make it more of a driver again. So when I originally had the car on coilovers, I had it super, super low and couldn't really drive it that much either because it always rubbed on things and stuff like that. But this time I am going to go, you know, just a little bit higher with it to make it more practical, more realistic, so I can do other projects that I really want to do to it. So for right now, I'm going to go over my plan of attack of what I'm going to do. I am going to be selling this air ride setup on this car, so I may break it up. Unless you're interested in everything, message me on either atwasbone.com or Instagram. You know, just private message me. Just if you hit in the comments, if I may see it, I may not, but if you know, are interested, just reach out to me. I may break it up, like sell the hard suspension components and then sell the airlift performance setup, like kind of like how I bought everything. But if you are interested, just reach out. Besides that, let's get into it. We'll go one more time over the car and then I'll show you my plan of attack. So we just dropped our new clothing line. Everything's available at atwasbone.com. Some of our new designs are Save the Sticks. We also have, it's not just the car, it's Corvette. And then on the back, we have our new logo. And on the right side sleeve of the hooded sweatshirts, we have our signature spark plug. We do have all these designs available in t-shirts and sweatshirts. We also have E36, E46, and also our basic, which just has logo on the chest, and then our spark plug on the sleeve. So check out all our products and our merch at atwasbone.com. So if any of you are new to the channel and didn't follow the whole air ride build series that I did a couple years ago, this is an 85 Corvette. I made pretty much all the air ride components for it to get it as low as it is. It is sitting a little bit higher now in the front because I have chassis braces on it. I made bump stops and stuff like that, but I made custom brackets for the front control arms, and I did like all the math, and I lowered them down low enough to get this thing to lay completely out on the floorboards. Same thing with the rear. I made my own components. I eliminated the whole like leaf spring setup, which most air ride Corvettes do. They add that extra arm in there, which I didn't. I incorporated that lower like strut bar and then a bracket and then the hanging bolt too. which kind of just eliminates an extra weight in it. And it has 18-way adjustable QA1 shocks on it, which makes it more of like a performance air ride setup opposed to just like a factory air ride setup. So the car handles well. It's all polyurethane bushings and stuff like that. So I pretty much made and got everything dialed into this thing would lay out and be like the lowest one. When I did this, there wasn't many air ride Corvettes out there. There was just a handful of people doing it because there's not really bolt-in kits available because it's kind of impossible to like bolt everything up. You do have to make a front bracket in the front to mount the airbag, which I have welded in, which won't come out. I'll probably keep those in there. But other than that, everything is pretty much custom made and custom fitted. I have all this like custom bracket in the back for like the toe links. So they're like reversed and low so you can get the thing all the way up. So I put a lot of time and energy into designing it so it can lay out and tuck the wheels the way it does. So I did like the way all that kind of turned out. So let's just do a real quick walkover so you can just kind of take a look at it real quick and kind of say goodbye to it laying like this at this stance. Okay, so I did like a pros and cons video of daily driving an air ride car like a couple months ago or whatever, talking about what I did like and didn't like about air ride. So I mean, for me personally, all my cars are on coilovers and lowered with like no gap in the wheel wells, and obviously like that's just my thing. And then like I tried doing the air ride for a little bit. Like when I first got the car, I was like, this is exactly what I wanted to do, but things change. And for me, like I'm in my 40s and time is very minimum, like a lot of you. So if I do have a chance to hop in one of my cars and go run a couple errands, I don't want it to be a pain in the butt. I don't want to worry. I don't want to go out there and break down or something like that. I want to get there, get back or whatever, get back to my life. So for me, the air ride's just not going to cut it anymore. So now with coilovers on the car, I can set it up nice, have a good stance to it, nothing crazy. I'm not going to go as low as I did before, and then I can hop in it, drive it, hit some corners, have some fun with it, and just kind of eliminate the worry. Even though air ride is pretty safe for the most part. I had a couple incidents, which I explained before, with like a fitting and then a line pop because of my header and stuff like that. But when that stuff happens to you, you're always thinking about it. And there'll never be a time that I get an air ride car that I'm not thinking that something's gonna pop. This is not my first air ride car. I did have an S10 that was bagged like 100 years ago. Besides that, like, yeah, I had a couple issues with that too. But to me, at where I'm at is like, I'm done, I'm over it. And not only that, after I painted the car, I just realized the other day when I was going over it, there was like a crack in here. Like I had a notch underneath my hood to get some like clearance. And from it sitting on the tire so much, it put a nice crack in my paint job. So, you know, it's gotta go at this point. So besides that, my attack with the coilovers is this. So I am gonna go with a kind of middle of the road. So not like a factory coilover where you get like an inch drop, and not the super low one. Now, if you're familiar with the coilovers for these cars or you're interested in doing it, when I set this car up in like a week or so, I'm gonna go over all the details, the size of coilovers to get and stuff like that. I ran like a QA1, like a really, really small one on the front of this. And this is an early style car that has like the plate on the control arm, and you kind of get a small coilover in there. And I changed this setup with this air ride here, and I'm gonna kind of go to the same way. 1 second. So what I'm gonna do, I ended up having to buy new control arms for the front and lower ones, because the ones that I made for the air ride, which I'm gonna sell, have like this bracket that is kind of welded on, not onto the aluminum obviously, but it kind of like Frankenstein goes around the thing, is welded and bolts to the front here, and then in here where the spring sits, there's a bracket, and that's where the shock goes. And I'm gonna do that same setup with this car now. I'm gonna put new ball joints, poly bushings in this. I'm gonna make a custom bracket for in here, because normally there's a plate on the early cars that goes here, and then the shock sits right on top of that. So with my setup that I'm gonna go, it's gonna kind of just sit down in here a little bit, almost like the what is it, 89 and up cars, they mount right in here. So that's kind of the setup that I'm gonna do. Now, the rear of these cars, you have to get like a lower coilover mount, or you don't have to, you can make one. I originally had Van Steel ones when I had coilovers originally, and then I ended up making which is basically a coilover mount for this, because I have a shock on it when I had to hang it a little bit lower. I can't use that, and that's gonna sell with the kit too, but I'm gonna make my own coilover mounts, so we'll go over all that too, because there's a couple companies that sell them, and they're like $300 or $400 or something like that, that lower mount. And I ended up making mine with just like 1/8 inch or 3/16 steel, I think. And I do have a video on that as well in the past, but I gotta go through all that again. The couple little things too that I gotta change too is I gotta get the strut bars in the back. I actually have a set of them. I ordered some poly bushings for that. They gotta come out as well. But all in all, everything will be pretty much just like a bolt in, but I'm gonna go through everything. I gotta take everything out of this thing, which I'll probably do next video, jack this thing up and just start removing everything, which kind of sounds crazy after putting all that work into it, but it just makes sense, and it's better than just sitting here. I just don't go to car shows or like Cars and Coffees rarely, just because I'm really busy with my businesses and, you know, the channel, trying to make videos and stuff like that. So this would be like a perfect car for like a car show if you're a car show guy, but for me, I don't. It's just, so the only car show that it sits at is just in the shop with these other cars and no one to see it, so it kind of defeats the purpose of having it at this point. So I am excited to put the coilovers on. I did order everything actually this morning, so I should have that in a couple days, and then we can just start setting everything up and start making some brackets and go down the road, start in the front and end up in the rear, or I don't know, something like that. But that is the plan right now. Okay, so let's talk future plans for the car. So if we rewind the clock back about 3 years ago, right before I bagged this thing, I had bought a 6-speed ZF6 out of one of these cars off a marketplace with everything I needed to do the trans swap, and this is already a 4-speed car, so I just had to swap the trans and drive shaft, all that good stuff. My plan was to do a 6-speed swap and then do like an LS swap in it. So that kind of got nixed once I bagged it. I just was like, I don't know, it's not really like a performance car at this point. I just was fine with the power that this thing made, and you know, it ran good and runs strong. It's only got 68,000 miles, got all the little bolt-on stuff done to it and exhaust, so it runs good. I mean, obviously it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it ran great. But ultimately I wanted to do an LS swap, so I want to go back down that road. I had bought a silver BMW that I was going to do that in, but I just changed my mind because the car was really clean, and just kind of driving that and have it over at the house garage. But that was the original plan, was to put an LS in this car. I've never done an LS swap before, and I always wanted to. I built engines and done plenty of engine swaps and stuff like that in the past, but I never did one with an LS. So this would be the car that I would want to put it in. The only thing that I have to figure out is the whole ZF6 to the LS thing, because if not, you got to put a T56 with the LS, and then you got to make a whole transmission cross member thing, which, you know, I figured if I could just use the ZF6, it'd be good to go. So that's the plans. I was also kind of contemplating doing a roll bar in the back and paint it red, kind of like a bolt-in roll bar, like harness bar cage thing. So I may do that. I might actually make one or something like that, but I'm not sure. So that's kind of like the vibe that I wanted with the car. I wanted to kind of like, you know, use these wheels still for now, which are like BBS LM wraps, and just kind of have that like stance kind of look, but you know, have the newer, better running engine than this thing in it. So that is my plan of attack for now. But before I get, you know, too far ahead of myself, I do want to get this thing back on coilovers and just start driving it, enjoying it again, because, you know, I have the frame bars on it. I got that front chassis bar thing in the front that goes from like control arm perch to control arm perch, and the car handles really well. And I know when I had it on coilovers before, it really handled awesome. So I am looking forward to going out and just drive the car again until I get into the other project and get motivated to do that. And I'll probably start sourcing some parts and sourcing an engine, doing some research and stuff like that, because that's all new to me as well. So that is the plans for this car. So I am excited to have this thing back in my life, because I feel like it's just been sitting in here and I've been just doing other things or finding other things to do instead of playing with this thing. So that's where I'm at this point. So I am going to end this video now, and I'm going to just start going over this thing. I got a couple days away from my parts, and at that point, I'm gonna take everything out, we'll lay everything out, we'll go over everything, we'll start making some stuff and get this thing back the way it was. So if you have any questions about coilovers or air ride, or you're interested in the air ride stuff off of this car, hit me up anytime. You can message me. I'm happy to help out with any questions to the best of my knowledge I can help you with. EtwisBone.com, Instagram, EtwisBone, or Instagram Glenn McGowan, or Facebook Glenn McGowan, all that good stuff. It's down in the description. So happy to help you with any questions you have with anything, as always. And thank you guys all for the support with all the products and the clothing and stuff like that. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Thanks for watching.